Now, let me welcome on to the Mountain West Insider Podcast, Nevada head coach Steve Alford, fresh off of a 14-point win at Utah State. And you get to turn around in your next two games, San Diego State, New Mexico. It just does not get easy in this league. Steve, how you doing, man? You stressing out
Yeah,
these next couple games?
doing great. It's a fun league. The Mountain West has always been. I'm in my 11th year of it, and I think this is by far, top to bottom, the best our league's been. It's just an exciting league. We got great venues, great fan support. We just left Utah State, 10,000 sold out. We're going to be sold out tomorrow against San Diego State. It's like that every night, it seems, and it's fun. It's not every year that you trend. I think our league is trending to where there's a lot more opportunities to increase your team, whether it's resume or your team get better through league play. And so it's good to see our league trending that way because a lot of good coaches and a lot of good players.
Steve, how much do you pay attention to the analytics? Right now, you're like in the mid 40s in the net. How much are you paying attention to that? And for you guys, it's kind of important. You want to get those numbers as good as you can, and nobody kind of knows what the heck is playing into the net. Right. Some teams are running it up if they can. Obviously, it's tough to do in league play, but what do you think of all the analytics right now and how to figure this whole thing out?
Yeah, I'm so old school, Jeff, that if you quiz me on what all the analytics were, I don't know if I could do it without my younger staff in the room. But we're just trying to get better because I'm the one thing I don't like about that, about how the net is used, is what you're talking about. If you can beat somebody 30 instead of 20, well, that was never the intent of coaching. Or, you talk about sportsmanship, and every league has videos that they show us on sportsmanship. Yeah. Well, what kind of sportsmanship is it if you're going to have a barometer of increasing your chances to make postseason, that you got to win by 30 instead of 20? And it makes that piece I don't like. But we try to schedule the best we possibly can. I thought our non-conference schedule was really good. Unfortunately, Georgia Tech is having a tough role. We beat them in the championship after beating a really good TCU team. We had TCU down double figures almost the entire game, and they're an outstanding team, top 25 team. So all you can do is try to get better. We had a blowout loss at New Mexico, and with 10 minutes to go, it's a 9-point game, but that obviously doesn't help when you get beat that bad. And fortunately, now we go on the road and we beat a outstanding Utah State team by double figures, and the net jumps 10. So it's
hey, you know what the rule is, Steve? You know what the biggest thing is?
Yeah.
Don't play your walk-ons and blowouts, which sucks. It sucks.
Exactly. And that's wrong. Right? That's just wrong. I mean, those poor guys don't get a play, but you know what? They practice every day. They're part of the scout team. They prepare your teams. They're your biggest fans. I mean, so when you get a chance to play them, you'd like to put them in there, and you just can't anymore. And I don't like that piece of what it's about.
Steve, you mentioned that this is the best Mountain West that you've been a part of, and you've been part of the league for a long time. I was just curious if you can kind of compare it to what it was. I think it was 11 years ago. 9-team league. You guys got 5 of them. Your New Mexico team got a 3 seed. Dave Rice had UNLV as a 5 seed. I think San Diego State was a 7. I want to say Colorado State was an 8, and then Boise State snuck in as a 13 seed that year. Is it better now, and what makes it better now?
Yeah, I think when I first got in it, we had Utah, BYU, TCU. Now TCU isn't the same TCU now, but BYU and Utah are. And so we had all those teams in the Mountain West. And then when all of a sudden the Power Five started chopping everything up, we had new additions, and Nevada ended up being one of those new additions. But in the years that you're talking about, I think the difference was there was about 5 teams, maybe a 6th, but then the last 4 or 5 just weren't very good. And so you weren't able to, I think, help your resume in league as much as what you can now, because we don't have, there's just not a big drop. San Jose kind of run into a snag here of late, but if you look at what Tim and San Jose's done this year, they've lost a lot of close games. They've been in them, they've battled, Air Force is the same way. It's just it's a very difficult league top to bottom. So I think 1 through 11, this is the best. This is the deepest it's been, to where you've got to play good basketball, whether it's home or on the road, to win. And back then, even though we got 5, the bottom wasn't as good as what it is now.
Yeah, to your point, there's a four-way tie for first place in the conference right now. The team that is
Yeah.
currently sitting in 7th place in the Mountain West is 1 game out of first place in the loss column, and
Yeah.
that's insane when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just great matchups. Every week it's great. And we were talking coming back from Utah State. I think they get Boise now. So here you've got 2 home games. You're Utah State. You're leading the league by 1, 2 games, and you get 2 home games, and it's Nevada and Boise. Well, those are hard games, even though they're at home. And so it makes exciting. It's nerve wracking, but it is fun, and it's great for our fans in this league. So it's hopefully we can continue to do what we need to do as a league, and the Mountain West will be honored when it's all over with, because I do think we're one of the better leagues.
Steve, I'm
And,
going out.
our league proved that in the non-league. Our
No doubt.
non-league.
Yes.
You look at the top of our league. We were 13-1. Colorado State, huge wins. Boise went and played a really difficult schedule. They didn't maybe win as many games as they wanted, but they played a really tough schedule that prepared them for league play. You had San Diego State, huge wins in the non-league. So it's a league that Utah State didn't lose in non-league. So we did our job in the non-league, and now we're beating each other up a little bit in the league. But that's what happens in all the Power Fives, and they still are awarded for it, and hopefully we are too.
Steve, do you guys all get together and just kind of watch Washington games and cheer them on together? They lost to you guys beat them, San Diego State beat them, and Colorado State beat them. So if Washington go on a run here, that might be the best thing for the Mountain West you can imagine.
Yeah, I mean that was a huge road win. We go on the road in November and win at Washington, who's got a lot of really good transfers, and Brooks is as good as they get. We thought that was going to be a huge road win, and trust me, I know our staff and myself hasn't shared any of that, because after you win those big non-conference wins, you're the biggest fan of those people. You want them win. So it's but that beating an ACC school like Georgia Tech, and them struggling a little bit, Washington struggling a little bit. That's hard, because we got a neutral win over Georgia Tech, and we got a road win over Washington that both should be really good wins.
All right, so you got your 675th win at Utah State. Good place to get it, first of all.
Yeah.
Can you outlast Tom Izzo, who is next above you in the active coaches, I believe? He's at 701. Now, Izzo he's 69, Steve. Are you going to outlast? Can you catch Izzo?
Catch Izzo in wins and age of coaching in this? I don't think so, Jeff. I got so much respect for him. We just, in fact, our director of ops, Claire, we hired her this offseason, got her from the Spartan organization. And, when I got fired at UCLA, I went and saw 3 or 4 schools that, coaches that I really respect. And Tom was one of those guys. And the culture he has there, it's phenomenal what he's been able to do and be at one school the whole time. I feel like I'm very blessed. The schools I've been able to go to, and the staffs, the players, I've been so blessed. The cities, communities I've been. So my past a little bit different than Tom, because Tom was a GA and he was able to be under Heathcote, and then and Judd retires and he gets the job, and he's just that culture is incredible, and I'm so happy for him. But trying to outlast him is I don't know if I can.
He's gonna go. Hey, Steve,
I don't know if I can
he's
be
gonna
able to handle
go
that.
until a doctor tells him he can't go anymore. Tom's gonna coach.
Yeah, that's that Upper Peninsula mindset.
Yes.
You guys started out the season 15-1. Then you dropped 3 in a row, and I think it was 4 out of 5. What happened during that stretch, and how were you guys able to turn it around? Obviously, you got the win at home over San Jose State, and then at Utah State, you picked up that big win on, was that Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think I don't know the exact numbers, but we're 26, 27-2 over the last 2 years, maybe not quite that high yet. But I think losing to Boise, we had come off our non-conference league Had to start on the road at Fresno, beat Fresno on the road, come back, beat Air Force on the road. Both of those were double-digit wins. So now we're sitting 15-1. And I'm not saying we got soft, but winning – Bird's got a great quote on how winning can make you soft and losing can make you quit. And I thought we got a little bit we didn't have that edge to us. We're a very physical team. We get into you. We want paint scores. There's a lot of things that we do that has a physicality to it. And I thought Boise came in here on their first road trip and they had a demeanor to them and they played really well. So I think that first home loss, which we didn't get until the last game of the regular season last year, it hit our guys in the face a little bit. And then all of a sudden your next game is at San Diego State, where there's just not very many teams win at Viejas. And then we have to go to a place right after that we've had very little success in, and that's at Wyoming. So, a little bit of scheduling, a little bit of just, had we gotten that Boise game, could we split on that road trip? Possibly, but we got a little hit and we got a little down, and it took us a while to get back up out of that. But we've responded well since then, and hopefully we can respond here in February and early March.
Crazy stat, Steve. I assume you saw it. First win over a ranked team on the road for the program since 1981. That is a crazy stat. Think about that. How long it's been. But Nick Davidson's playing great the last couple games. He gives you something that you need desperately, don't you? When he plays like he has the last couple games, you feel like you can beat just about anybody in this league?
Oh, there's no question. When we play good basketball, we play like we did at Utah State, home to Colorado State. When we're playing good basketball, there's no question we're as good as anybody in this league. Now, we're like everybody else in this league, that if we play our B game, we're probably going to get beat. But Nick has been a great emergent third scorer for us because we've got Lucas and Blackshear. And our third scorer was kind of by committee. But now Nick is really getting into his own. He's making shots. He's always had great footwork, but he's really coming into his own. And now if he can be that third scorer and then committee now goes to the fourth spot, a guy like Trey Coleman, who is an elite defender, I think one of the best defenders in our league, if not the best defender, he's scoring better. So that's really helped us and taken a little bit of pressure off of our offense.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Jared and Keenan and just kind of the dynamic that you have back there. I think one of the hard things that you run into with the backcourt is when guys maybe don't necessarily understand kind of what their job is. And I think you have a really good dynamic where you got the playmaker and the guy that can kind of set some stuff up in Keenan, and you got the guy that's kind of out there to go get a bucket in Jared. And they seem to really know what their job is and have figured out how to do it at a very high level.
Yeah, and they've been so consistent throughout their careers. And that's something, when we got Keenan, he wasn't a point guard. So, we threw him out there one day because of injuries, and he's always had a great basketball IQ, and he doesn't maybe look like your prototype point guard at 6'6", 230, but all of a sudden we put him out there 2 years ago, and we haven't taken him off that spot, because I think instantly whoever we play, you have to think about matchups, because normally your point guards are 6 foot to 6'2" or 3, and they normally are guarding a guy like that. And now all of a sudden you play us, and if you're going to put your point guard on him, we can post Keenan. We can go bully ball with you. And now all of a sudden, when you make that adjustment, you take your point guard off of Keenan and put him on Jared. Well, now Jared's got a smaller guy on him, and you put a bigger guy on Keenan, who's usually not a normal point guard. And point guard defense is different than off-ball defense. Point guards, you put a big guard on Keenan who's not used to playing ball screen and those stuff. That's different for those guys. So I think that's where we've really been able to mess with matchups. And Keenan's been very consistent. Jared's a 90% foul shooter, so he's somebody that I tell him all the time, that's your greatest weapon. They can talk about hugging you and playing you close and top blocking you and all this kind of stuff, but if you'll cut, it's still got to be in their back of their mind, don't foul him, because he's 90% there. So both those guys have been really consistent for us.
Yeah, Goodman, I just want to point out that that Coach Alford's been around for a while, where he just told us publicly on the record that he found out that his all-conference point guard was a point guard by accident. He just kind of threw him out there and said, hey, you know what? This works. How about that?
Yeah, sometimes in practice, you got to just try stuff. And Keenan's from a huge basketball family. His brother was a star and playing in Japan. And having a great pro career. His sister's at Georgia Tech playing, and his mom and dad both played at Stetson. His dad played for like 12 years. And I called his dad up 2 Octobers ago, and I go, hey, have you ever thought about him being a point guard? Because we're really going to try to put him there because we've practiced him a little bit, and we love what he's doing. And his dad was all in favor of it as well. And we haven't looked back because he's just been and I always tell Keenan, point guards are judged like quarterbacks. What's your record? And, we've had a really good record with him at point guard.
All right. So I'm going out to see my daughter in Bloomington in a couple weeks. I know you're not Pat Knight when you went out in Bloomington, but give me your favorite story, like an upstairs pub, something where maybe you did something you weren't supposed to do, Steve. And I don't know if Coach Knight found out or didn't find out.
And one, it's been 40-some years, so I'm lucky if I can just recall the restaurants. But Nick's is still my favorite just because of nothing that I did, as much as the Strombolis there are off the chart. But a lot of the places, Jeff, are gone. We ate at the Big Wheel. That's where we ate all of our meals, and we got called back. Your rules were different back then. You could practice whenever and no days off. And I can tell you, in my 4 years, at least a half a dozen times, our team's sitting eating at the Big Wheel, and all of a sudden a manager arrives and goes, Coach wants you guys back. And it could be 11 o'clock, could be midnight, and Coach is calling us back. But I probably don't have as many good stories for you as Pat would have.
No, hey, nobody does. Nobody does. I mean, the stories of them pulling him out like the back of bars, getting him into police cars where his dad would never find out. That was the best part. He'd tell me the story. And his dad, he said, my mom would know. And I'm like, how did your dad not know? He's like, they just protected me there.
Yeah. No, and there's a lot of truth to that. It was such a fun community. Like Bob Mealy, who's passed now, unfortunately, but he was a police officer that I can remember. My wife, who was going to school at the time there, she would later go to Evansville, but I just won an Olympic gold medal. And it's August after winning the Olympics. And so I'm back home, and I'm going to her dorm to see her. And I get pulled over because apparently I was speeding, Jeff. I get pulled over, and it's Bob. And he says, great job in the Olympics, just a warning. And it struck a friendship that just by getting that warning and telling me to slow down, it was a friendship that lasted a lifetime. I used to, after every home game, not every home game, but a lot of home games, he would come by my apartment because I couldn't wind down, and I'd go out and I'd be on his beat. I would drive on his beat for like an hour just to,
no way.
That was my decompress, and we became really good, close friends. And in that time, we never picked up Pat. That never happened. So I don't have a story that way, but it was just a cool community. So just make sure when you see your daughter, if you go to the game, I always tell people you got to take your shoes off. That's holy ground.
I'm just imagining the reaction that you would have had if the cop car pulled up and there was Pat Knight right there and Steve Alford was in the front seat. That would have been a pretty good story. All right, last thing I got for you, and then we'll let you go because I know you got you got San Diego State, New Mexico coming up, and that's let you go prepare for it. If we look up at the end of the season and Nevada is the Mountain West regular season champion, what has happened? What is the key? What do you guys need to be able to do to cut down those nets?
Yeah, I think we talk about all the time, Rob. It's about, we know who we are, so we got to be who we are. We got out of character some. We were at San Diego State, we were 53-53 tie game, and we get out of character. We take bad shots. We turn the ball over. We've been a team that we've been under 10 turnovers a lot this year. We're averaging like 9-10 turnovers. So taking care of the ball, getting good shots allows us to set our defense. And when we're allowed to set our defense, we're getting ready to play San Diego State. We're 1-2 in the league as defensive teams. Boise's right there. And a lot of that has to do with physicality. A lot of it has to do with how we take care of the ball and the shots we get. So if all those things, and I will say board play, we gave up 20 offensive rebounds at San Diego State. If we've had an issue, that's where it's been. So if we're going to be one of those teams that are fighting for the championship 4 weeks from now, it's been because our board play has been very good.
All right. Well, listen, Steve, we appreciate the time. I'm going to let you get back
you.
to watching the film and preparing because, you know, it's the Mountain West, man. Every day is
Yep.
a battle. Appreciate you being here on the Mountain
Thanks,
West Insider
guys.
podcast.
Thanks, Steve.
I
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
it.
man.
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.